Hello and welcome to the Vinyl Sanctuary. My name is Christian and I hope that you will join me in taking refuge in records. So I'm here today doing a ranking video for the year 1981. So really looking forward as always to getting into my latest batch. So again, similar to what I did in 1980 and I've already done 1982. For reasons I've already explained on the channel, just because it was the first video that I ever recorded. In case you're new around here, it was the first piece of content that I ever created to get the channel up and running. There'll be 25 records here for me to show today out of my collection, and I will be ranking the top 5. So if you haven't watched 1980 or 1982 yet, I will pop links to those videos in the description box to the video that you're watching here right now. So thank you very much for being here. I hope that you enjoy it and we will get right into it. Okay, so starting off today, we are in Glasgow and I'm going to be showing the following album, and that is Happy Birthday by Altered Images. So as usual, I will be talking a little bit about the album. If anything pops into my head, I'll try not to misremember anything. Still kicking myself about getting Bowie and Verlaine mixed up on the 1980 video, but I did do a pinned comment to explain that there. So I'll show off the front and the back here, and then I'll just mention a few favourite tracks and yeah, just anything that kind of pops into my mind as I'm talking. So yeah, this is a really good album in my opinion. Obviously they're all really good, all these ones I'm showing you today, because they're in my collection for a reason, and you know, I've kept them over the years. They've survived various purges, and you know, there's been times when I've needed to sell records off, you know, to make a few quid here and there when I've needed to. But these albums that remain in the collection are there for one reason or another. You know, a lot of them can be for sentimental purposes, but also a lot of them are just because I find them to be particularly good, strong, listenable albums, and this one is no exception. So let's get into the band a little bit. So interestingly here we've got obviously Claire Grogan, who fronted the Altered Images. You know, she's also an actress as well. You know, very famously appeared in one of my favourite films of all time, which is Gregory's Girl, and she's also been in Red Dwarf as well, which is one of my favourite ever television sitcoms over here in the UK. So the only other thing as well that's kind of popped into my head is that the bass player Johnny McAlone, who we can see is, I think, pictured here, Johnny McAlone there, the bass player, he went on to be in the bands Hip Sway, and also went on to massive commercial success with the group Texas as well, which was fronted by Charlene Spiteri. So yeah, favourite songs on here, well, I do love Happy Birthday. You know, it is a really infectious, lovely alternative pop song in my opinion. Real Toys I've always enjoyed on side 1 as well. We also get Happy Birthday as an outro to the album as well, so we get it as an intro, and then we get a little sort of segment of it to conclude the album as well. I do also enjoy Midnight as well. So yeah, we get this little intro of Happy Birthday on side 1, then it goes into Love and Kisses, and then the actual track Happy Birthday then is on side 2. So it kind of appears in and around the album, you know, in various stages, you know, like little sort of instrumental motifs, and then you get the actual song in full on the album as well. But the real song that I want to talk about on this album is Beckoning Strings, which is the closing track on side 1. And to this day, whenever I hear it, I mean, I remember the first time I heard it and it just utterly blew my mind, not only because it was so good, but just because it is just basically the Pixies. Like, I could not get over just how unbelievably familiar in terms of the construction of the song, you know, the way that Claire Grogan was using the voice, which was very much in keeping with how Kim Deal sang with the Pixies, just the guitar sound, everything about it. I just thought, wow. I mean, I just thought all day after that Frank Black, you know, must have been listening to Altered Images, or he must have heard Beckoning Strings, because if anybody's not heard it, you know, this came out in 1981, so this was well before the Pixies. yeah, it's really quite fascinating. And I'm not saying for any for any moment that there's any sort of copying going on as such. I think it's more just the sound. I mean, it was I don't think it's like any kind of intentional thing, but I was just so surprised that of all the bands, that sort of the Pixies kind of get associated with, and they clearly went on record at the time when they put out their advert to find the bassist in Kim Deal that they were into Husker Du and Peter, Paul and Mary, but I really think they should have added Altered Images to that advert as well, because there is definitely something going on there. I mean, there's another band in here as well, which I'll be showing you later, that I do think also had a massive influence on the Pixies. But yeah, Beckoning Strings, it's a great song in its own right. Please do go and listen to it. If you do know the song already, or you do go away and play it, do let me know if you hear that Pixies DNA in there, because I really do feel that the Pixies, if they haven't done so, even if it's not kind of an intentional or direct lift of this song in it or anything, I do think that they owe them a doff of the cap, at least, I would say, because I've not heard a sound like this prior to Altered Images. Whether they've styled that sound from something that they've heard and just taken it and done what they've done with it is all well and good, but yeah, there is a really strong Pixies sound to that song, Beckoning Strings, so I definitely wanted to highlight that. But yeah, I think I made that point there, didn't I, pretty well. But still adore the Pixies, wonderful band, love everything they did. I'm not familiar with the latest stuff, but the 80s run that they had, and obviously Trompe Le Monde as well in the early 90s. Love those albums. So yeah, definitely not a criticism, more just an observation there of where I feel the Pixies may have been taking some of that sound. Right, so anyway, let me get my head back in the game. We're in 1981 here, so enough Pixies talk. Let's get back to what we're talking about. Okay, so the next album I'm going to be showing you is a perennial favourite on the Vinyl Sanctuary. This band, they have cropped up a number of times now, and they are here again. So now I'm going to be showing you Faith by The Cure. So yeah, love The Cure to bits. I've made that clear now in a few different videos. So I needn't wax lyrical again about how much I love Robert Smith and Co. So I'll just get on to the favourite tracks. So show you the back there. I love the surge of Primary. Such a great beat and feel to that song, Primary. One of my favourite Cure songs. I've always enjoyed All Cats Are Grey as well on side 1. And then on side 2, we get The Funeral Party, which I do like that song. And then we close off with the album's title, the album's name, Faith, to finish us off. So another good post-punk edition within the Cure discography. At this time, this is 1981. So, by this point we've had For Imaginary Boys, obviously, I think it was by Boys Don't Cry, redone over in the US. We've had 17 Seconds by this point as well. So they are still kind of in that early post-punk vein. I mean, they branch out hugely as the years roll by and get much more experimental and start, operating in many different genres. But, for a good post-punk record, and obviously as well, this is the year before, Pornography, which is a wonderful album. So yeah, it's a good record, that within the Cure's discography. So again, in the comments, if anybody is really into the Cure, please do let me know where you would personally place Faith. Okay, so the next one I'm going to show you is a really interesting one. I've never really heard anything quite like it, and I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different for the purpose of today's video. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read here on camera a review of this album as written on the website AllMusic. So I'm in no way, shape or form affiliated with AllMusic or anything like that. I just wanted to read it because I feel that the reviewer has done such a brilliant job of distilling what this album is actually all about. Very, very unique. So I'll show the record off first of all, and just give you a little bit of an overview in that regard. But then I will read the review. I'll obviously make sure that I reference the author's name as well, just to make sure that I'm acknowledging him, the person correctly, and that I'm covered in that regard. So the album in question, I would put it in the psychobilly category. So, if you're into the likes of the Cramps, for instance, then this I think would be really up your street. And this record is, the microphone. This record is Behind the Magnolia Curtain by Tav Falco's Panther Burns. And there's Mr. Falco there, looking extremely distinctive, shall we say, with that pompadour hairstyle and the moustache and the whole look going on there. And then we've got the back cover. There we go. So very, very briefly, I discovered Tav Falco through my love of the Cramps, and with Tav Falco inhabiting that sort of realm, as I've just mentioned, it felt like quite a natural progression to then check Tav Falco out. But the thing that sort of really drew me to them, other than the Cramps thing, because I think I must have read about this band in, maybe some psychobilly essay or something that I'd read in, either online or in a music publication or something like that. What really drew me in particular to discovering or giving this band a try was the involvement of Alex Chilton. So I'm a huge Big Star fan, massive Big Star fan. This is as far away from Big Star as you can get. It truly is. And also there's a Cramps connection there again with Alex Chilton, because he did produce the Cramps' debut album, Songs the Lord Taught Us, which came out in 1980. So there is some crossover there as well. So at this time in Alex Chilton's career in the early 80s, he was definitely treading around in a psychobilly world, shall we say, because he's actually playing on this album. So yes, he's credited here as LX Chilton. LX Chilton, there you go. Nice little pun there. And he's credited with guitar and drums. So what I'll do is I will read the review now, and it's not something that I plan to do in the future, but I just felt that it was so well written that I just thought I'd share it. So I'm going to pop the record down for a moment, bring up the old phone here, and I'll just read it out. So this as well gets a 5-star review on AllMusic, which is the highest grade you can get. But once I've read it and I've explained a bit more about how it sounds, some people could hear this and just think it's utter garbage, but I'm fascinated by this album, and I remain to this day to be fascinated by it. Okay, so I'm going to read out now what it says. So the review is by somebody called Tom Urek, and it goes as follows. So, Behind the Magnolia Curtain was recorded at Memphis's Ardent Studios and issued by Rough Trade in 1981. The lineup was Falco with Alex Chilton and Jim Duckworth alternating on guitars and drums. Original drummer Ross Johnson had been kicked out just before recording, and bassist Ron Miller. Also on board for 4 tracks was the Tate County Fife and Drum Corps, which included Abe Young and Jessie May Hemphill. The music, simultaneously drenched in and made in reaction to Memphis music history, is equal parts primal, early rock and roll, deviant Delta-style blues, and avant-garde art, played without cynicism. In these songs, completely off the rails psychobilly, blues, tangos, wrecked 40s era tunes, and more often coexist in the same moment. Okay. The sound is dense, the time is elastic. If you're looking for a constant rhythm, forget it. This is ramshackle, raw, unholy, and utterly amazing. A timeless classic. It took the band a tad over 6 hours to record, and you can hear that. It sounds like swampy, scraped mud, but somehow Falco's acoustic guitar comes through. The songs are all covers. In those days, Falco felt there were too many songs in existence already. While it's true that the Cramps had an aesthetic that seemed similar on the surface, Falco's Panther Burns was at least as much about conceptual art as it was about music. This was revealed more in the band's live show. Behind the Magnolia Curtain is one of the great recordings to emerge from the post-punk era and remains the essential Panther Burns document. And then it just goes on to add a footnote about a reissue from 2012. So that for me is a rather brilliant distillation of what this album is. It sounds awful in terms of the production is non-existent, as it mentions. There is no sense of time or rhythm. It really goes all over the place, but somehow, quite brilliantly, it works. And that's why it's in the collection, and that's why it's in the top 25. So favourite songs off here. I do love the opener, Come On Little Mama. She's the One That's Got It is my favourite on the album. There is a version of Brazil on here, which I do think is one of those wrecked old style tunes that the review was referring to, Brazil. River of Love I do enjoy as well, but Snake Drive is superb. And then on side 2, I do like Blind Man and St. Louis Blues as well. Yeah, St. Louis, I believe it's St. Louis, isn't it? Of course it is. St. Louis Blues as well is on there. And then it finishes with a track called Moving On Down the Line. So if that hasn't intrigued you to go and listen to that, based upon what the review had to say and my explanation of it, then I'm not sure what will. If anybody does check it out though, based upon my video here, please do let me know. Let me know how you get on with it, and leave me a comment. I'd really be into finding out what other people make of Behind the Magnolia Curtain. Okay, so that's that one. Right, okay, let's carry on. So we're going over to the UK now, and we are going over to a band that definitely know how to write, I would call a proper tune, and they do have a great sense of rhythm, and yeah, just a really superb UK post-punk band, new wave band. So the record here is East Side Story by Squeeze. So just over here, what pops into my head there, that chap there is Paul Carrack, and he went on to huge commercial success with Mike and the Mechanics, and rather interestingly as well, he also plays piano on the song Reel Around the Fountain by the Smiths, which appears on their debut album, self-titled debut album from 1984. I think that was when the Smiths came out. Okay, so back to Squeeze. So yeah, there's some really lovely songs on this one. Just going to make sure here that our recording levels are okay. Yeah, we're okay there. We're doing all right. Just making sure I'm coming through there properly. So yeah, ones I really enjoy on here. Tempted, love that one so much. Paul Carrack does sing as well on that one, with Glenn Tilbrook there in support as well. I also really do love on side 2. It's got this beautiful country, lilting country vibe to it, labelled with love as well. But this is an album that I would say from start to finish is very consistent. I think it's possibly for me my favourite Squeeze album. I do really enjoy Argy Bargy. You know, I am a fan of that album as well, but I just think from a consistency point of view, and it sounds great as well, I would say the East Side Story would be the one that I would recommend to a newcomer. And I think as well, you know, I would imagine that a lot of old-time Squeeze fans would return to this one quite a bit as well. I mean, if anyone thinks different, please let me know. But that's just my feelings towards the album. So that's Squeeze there, East Side Story. Okay, so now we're remaining in the UK, and a group here that are not, well, an artist I should say, with a backing group that are, you know, are not a million miles away from Squeeze in terms of brilliant lyrics. I mean, that's obviously something I should mention there for Squeeze and for the artist I'm showing now. Superb lyricism, very clever, very witty, you know, just super wordplay. Nice crunchy guitars, great rhythm sections, lovely use of, you know, organ, piano, etc. as well. So yeah, there is some synergy here between East Side Story and the one I'm showing here. And that record is Trust by Elvis Costello. And I've always been a fan of that front cover. Just really like his expression on the front of that. So yeah, I mean, we've got Got Elvis Costello on here. I mean, it is credited as Elvis Costello on the front cover, but you know he has got the attractions on here as well, which is Steve Naive. Got Bruce Thomas and Pete Thomas as well, who are no relation, but they are on here as well. So yeah, this is excellent, and yeah, just interestingly there as well. I've just been talking about Squeeze, and yeah, of course the back of the cover here is just reminded me very fortuitously that yeah, Glenn Tilbrook is on here as well, as a featured vocalist. So there you go. That's a nice little bit of synergy there to have them appearing in my list one after the other. It wasn't intended, but there you go. That's how it's worked out. So yeah, love this album very, very much. Big fan of it. Another one that I would say has got a lot of quality material on there. There aren't many that I don't like. I mean, if any, really, to be honest. I mean, we've got Clubland, Lover's Walk, which are the opening two songs on side one, which are excellent. I love Strict Time as well. Always been a big fan of that. And then side one closes off with Watch Your Step. And then on side two, we've got the likes of get my words out today. Apologies for that. New Lace Sleeves, From a Whisper to a Scream, and then we've got later on as well Fish and Chip Paper and Big Sister's Clothes. So really strong album, that one. Definitely one of my favourites for 1981, and that's Trust by Elvis Costello. Okay, so now we have got something a little bit different now. This is an artist who's originally from Jamaica, teamed up with the fantastic rhythm section of Sly and Robbie, and was on Island Records and produced this wonder in 1981, and it is a great album. I am talking, of course, of Grace Jones with Nightclubbing, and Nightclubbing there, of course, being the Iggy Pop song, which appears on his 1977 album that he did with David Bowie, The Idiot. Yeah, Nightclubbing's on there. And yeah, I mean, straight off the bat there, let's talk about the cover for a moment. So, we've got this very sleek, androgynous front cover. Grace Jones there, looking very, very fierce, very, very proud, very strong. We've got the sort of the dangling cigarette as well, which is very, very cool, which also, I think, sort of brings into the mix of the portrait, the picture, like almost a bit of a sort of a Marlene Dietrich sort of a feel to it as well. And obviously, the flat top haircut is very, very distinctive. And then we've got those oversized shoulders there. And I do believe that's an Armani jacket. So it is a very, very, very iconic front cover. I do think it's fair to say probably one of the most recognizable album covers out there. So let's talk a little bit about the music. See, I've already mentioned Sly and Robbie, haven't I already? Robbie Shakespeare, bass guitar, Sly Dunbar, drums and syn drums as well. So yeah, I mean, Nightclubbing goes without saying is it's a great cover. It's very, very, very well done. Pull Up to the Bumper as well it has got to be regarded, I think, as one of Grace Jones's best songs. Certainly I think so as well. I do thoroughly enjoy Walking in the Rain. And then, yes, we've also got Demolition Man on here as well, which is a cover of the Police song. So some excellent covers on here. Yes, it is Jacket by Giorgio Armani. It's credited on the back here as well. So a very, very interesting album. To be honest, I mean, I don't really have a lot of albums in my collection that I would say sound like this one, but I've just always been very, very taken with it. I remember the first time hearing it and just thinking that it had such a great sound to it. There is like a real energy to it. There's a vibe to it. It sounds fantastic as well, I have to say that. It really, really is very, very, very well done. Produced, it says here, by Chris Blackwell and Alex Sadkin. So it sounds great. And yeah, it's just always one that I've kept in the collection. I remember picking it up in a local charity shop for a very, very good price indeed. Felt very, very fortuitous to find it really out in the wild like that. So yeah, it is definitely one of my favourites for 1981. Yeah, and that was obviously on there when I bought it. So that did kind of, I remember at the time they'd told me in the shop that they'd made it a little bit cheaper just because of that blemish there on the cover. So yeah, that's Nightclubbing by Grace Jones. If you've never heard that one before, then I would say please do give that one a listen as well. Got a very slinky, very sleek kind of dub, funky kind of vibe to it, and a bit of a new wave, obviously, sensibility in there as well. I mean, it is 1981, so I do think there is some crossover appeal between different fans of different genres who may get something out of that album. Okay, so we are now heading to a place here in the UK called the Wirral, which is over the water from Liverpool, or as some people like to refer to it as just Wirral rather than the Wirral. So this is definitely in the synth pop arena, this one. Again, brilliant songwriting, superb production, great songs, strong album from beginning to end. And that album here is Architecture and Morality by Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, or just to use the shortened version, we'll just call them OMD. Okay, so just take it out and remind myself there of the I just enjoy doing that, so I'll show you there on camera. So we got the cut out there, so when we do that, here we go, it just pulls out there like that, if you've not seen that before. So it's the little things in life though, isn't it, that I find, that's just a nice thing, isn't it, to do. Just a really well made cover. So yeah, on the back here we've got the members of OMD. So let's get my pointing sorted. So there we go. Let's get him in shot. Paul Humphreys here, and Andy McCluskey there. Okay, so Paul Humphreys, he does sing one of my favourite songs on this track, actually, even though he wasn't the primary singer. He sings Souvenir, which is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous song. Love it so much. Definitely one of my favourite songs of the early 1980s. That the synth part in it is just heavenly. It really is. I have to stop myself now so I don't start, going overboard and with my adjectives. But I have said on previous videos I'm going to try to stop using words like wonderful and striking. So I am trying to mix it up a little bit. But no, it is. Souvenir is gorgeous. And Andy McCluskey, obviously, on other tracks, takes lead. We've got Joan of Arc on here as well, which is lovely. Jonah, and then we've got underneath listed Joan of Arc, Maid of Orleans. We've got the title song, Architecture and Morality. But yeah, I mean, for me, Oh She's Leaving as well is one of my favourites. But the real jewel in the crown on that one is definitely Souvenir. I think that song alone, let's see if I can get this in. Come on. There we go, we've done it. That track alone is worth checking the album out. But yeah, very, very strong all the way through. An excellent album for 1981. Architecture and Morality by Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. Okay, so yeah, we were in the Wirral there. We're going back over the water, and we are now going to Liverpool. And here is another artist, a band that I love a great deal. Mentioned him one or two times on the channel. Love this songwriter, love his voice, love his bass playing. Just love him, think he's brilliant, a real character. And this record obviously is from 1981, and we are talking now about Wilder by the Teardrop Explodes. So really, really enjoyable album. It's got a very different sound to the debut, which was Kilimanjaro, which came out in 1980, came out the year before. So again, just a strong album, really, really good all the way through. It creates a mood and it sustains it very well indeed. Lovely instrumentation. I would say it's a lot less kind of bouncy and buoyant than Kilimanjaro. I think Kilimanjaro is a lot poppier. I would say this one is slightly denser in terms of its in its delivery and in its execution. But Julian Cope, he sounds great on this album. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, I'm trying to remain objective because I do really love a lot of what Julian Cope has done. So the lineup at this time as well was Julian Cope, Gary Dwyer on drums, and we got Troy Tate. He obviously famously went on to produce, again, getting a Smiths reference in there. Second time I've done it today. He did actually do a production of the Smiths' debut album that got scrapped. And And then we've also got David Balfe on here as well. So he was another mainstay of the Teardrops. So yeah, favourite songs, Bent Out of Shape, great way to open the album up. Later on, Passionate Friend, definitely one of the best songs that the Teardrop Explodes did. Really, really great song, that one. I love Colours Fly Away. Some lovely guitar playing on that. Really lovely, jangly, arpeggiated stuff going on there on Colours Fly Away. Always enjoyed that one. And I absolutely love these two as well. I love Seven Views of Jerusalem. Love the way that Julian sings on that one. And The Great Dominions is excellent as well. So if you're not aware of the Teardrop Explodes and you want something a little bit different, quite melancholy in places as well, actually, please do consider giving Wilder a try. I think it's a very underrated album. In my opinion, I think it kind of lives in the shadow of Kilimanjaro, and I do feel that as much as I love Kilimanjaro, I do find myself returning to Wilder a good bit as well. So just a little extra bit of information there. Okay, so now we're going to something a little bit, well, I'll say a little bit, very, very sleazy, sort of very back alley, seedy, an album very much I would associate as maybe like a nocturnal listen, I would say. There is a real sort of late night noirish vibe to this record, and it is a duo. And again, we're in the synth pop realm again, and I am talking about Soft Cell, and the record there is Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret. So there on the front, we've got Mark Allman there, looking very shifty with that package in the brown paper bag, of course. And then we've got David Ball next to him, Dave Ball. He was the musical mastermind of Soft Cell, but you've got Mark Allman here in brilliant voice. It was produced by Mike Thorne. And if you're wondering as well about that photography on the front cover, it's great photography that has been credited to Ashworth. And then there's the back as well. So there you go. All the peep shows, sex shops. That's that's the vibe this album is going for. Very noirish, as I say. Exploring the darker side. The seedy underbelly, shall we say, of society. I think on this one. So the songs are just brilliant. Really, really, really strong album. Again, I'm going to say that a lot, but it's true. So Tainted Love, we have to start with that one. That was an absolutely humongous hit for Soft Cell, massive, and has without question gone down as one of the pivotal songs of the 1980s. It's up there with the likes of Relax by Frankie. It's one of those songs that just screams the 80s in terms of the impact, how massive it was. It was everywhere. I mean, I wasn't born until a year later, and it's still, going around. I was still hearing it growing up in the 80s myself. It had already been a huge hit by then for the band. So yeah, obviously a cover of the song "Tainted Love," which had been done by Gloria Jones. So they very, very much put their stamp on it and made it into this monster smash hit. So that's a great song, goes without saying. It's a classic. Sex the Wolf on here is very, very good as well. Bedsitter is excellent. Frustration actually is a good opener. That sort of sets up the album before we go into Tainted Love. But my absolute favourite song on this album and by Soft Cell, for me, nothing really comes close to it. As magnificent as Tainted Love is Say Hello, Wave Goodbye. What a song that is. It's a torch song of the highest quality. Love Mark Allman's voice on it. The synth work by Dave Ball is just, it's literally like, it's almost tear-jerkingly good. It's so beautiful, his work on it. And it's in those passages when Mark's singing, Mark Allman singing "Take Your Hands Off Me," and it's the synth parts that he's got underpinning those lyrics, just different stages of the song, where if you just listen to those bits in isolation, they are stunningly good bits of work, beautiful composition. Say Hello, Wave Goodbye. Yeah, it is just an absolutely beautiful song. gut wrenching in its delivery. It's got an excellent music video to it as well, which I would say Dave Ball is the star of, and in my opinion shows quite impressive acting chops as well, given that he doesn't actually speak a word in it. He's just articulating the whole story of the song, you know, with his facial expressions. It really is a great video, that. So yeah, can't say enough about that. So if you do want something a little bit dark, a little bit sort of different, maybe you know, it might not be the easiest of listening in terms of its subject matter for some people, but I do think it's a very important album, and I am pleased to have it in the collection. So that's Soft Cell with Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret. Okay, so now we're going over to something a little bit, I would say a bit light. Well, it's almost like, you know, that's, as I said, it is a nighttime album. Coming into something a little bit brighter, a bit lighter now. We are still in the synth pop world, and we are still talking about a duo as well. And we've got another Dave here too, interestingly enough. But rather than a Mark, we've got an Annie. And I am, of course, talking about Eurythmics with In the Garden. And I think that this album is a bit of an outlier in the Eurythmics discography. I don't think there's another album quite like it that sounds like it. I do think that there are sort of dream pop elements on this album. I think there's parts of it that remind me a little bit of, certainly with a song like Belinda, that almost sounds like almost a bit sort of new wavy, power poppy, you know, like almost a bit of a Blondie type sort of feel to that. I mean, again, if anyone's got an opinion on that one, you know, please do let me know. But as always, I mean, we're talking about Annie Lennox here. She sounds terrific all the way through it. You know, it's the old cliche, you know, she could sing the phone book and it'd sound wonderful. She really is a phenomenal singer. And then we've got Dave Stewart as well here, of course, creating all kinds of brilliant sounds. But yeah, I know that this album definitely has its fans. You know, obviously it's not, you know, it's not Touch or Sweet Dreams and, you know, the huge albums, commercial success that Eurythmics went on to have. But I do think, or I might be mistaken, but it's just what I kind of assume and glean from seeing other people talking about the band. This does tend to be regarded by the fans as being a real favourite, maybe even underrated, I would say as well. So favourites on here, I have just mentioned Belinda. I do really enjoy that one a lot. I think English Summer as well to open the album is really, really nice. I've always enjoyed She's Invisible Now. And then on side 2, I really enjoy Never Gonna Cry Again. And then, yeah, interestingly as well, there's a track on here called Revenge, and Eurythmics went on to record an album called Revenge as well. So I'm not sure, I'm not a deep enough fan to know whether there is like that is like a deliberate callback or anything. But again, if anyone wants to tell me that, please do let me know. But it's always something that I've kind of made a mental note of, that, you know, Revenge is on here, and then the word gets brought up later on in a different setting for the group. So that is In the Garden by Eurythmics. Very, very nice album, that one. Okay, so we're staying in the UK, but we are now back to a full band. So we've had a couple of duos there, and now we're back to a band. So this album here is my favourite album by this band. I do have all their albums in my collection. Very happy to have them. Very interesting band, a band that I've come back to a good bit. Certainly more so when I was a bit younger, but I'm starting to reconnect with them a little bit more at the moment, just because they've been popping up in conversations of late. And that album here that I'm showing you now is Tin Drum by Japan. So there's David Sylvian there on the front, and there's the band there on the back. So superb album. Said it again, superb album, but it is. And yeah, I mean, thematically, the band is called Japan, but thematically, you know, we are very much here in China in terms of the themes, the concepts of the record. I would say superb all the way through. Really brilliant. So I love all of side 1. The Art of Parties, superb opener, Talking Drum, and then Ghosts. Yeah, that for me is the Japan song. Love Goes to Bits. Always have, always will. Just when I think I'm winning, just, just when I thought could not be stopped, my chance came to be king. Ghost of My Life. Go Wilder Than the Wind. So yeah, I've always loved it. Love Sylvian's voice on that one. It's just so stark and just a beautiful sound to it. I've heard live versions of it as well. Watched videos of it, and yeah, it's a really special song. Ghost. It's just one of those where everything just kind of comes together in a song, and all the parts work. And Ghost is a stunner. And then I love Canton as well at the end of side one. That's this beautiful instrumental piece. And then on side two, then we've got Still Life in Mobile Homes, Visions of China, Sons of Pioneers, and then Cantonese Boy to finish. So yeah, truly excellent album, that Tin Drum by Japan. There you go, and there's the band there, all sitting together with various looks on the faces. Not looking the happiest, I have to say, on that one. Not that Japan were known very much for smiling, but there is definitely, I would say, a tension there in that photograph between the band members. That's just my take on it, but that's how I call it when I see that. Okay, and the cover concept, out of interest, is obviously credited to David Sylvian on the back as well. Right, so got two albums coming up here that have got a direct connection with each other. So the first one here I'm going to be showing you is Penthouse and Pavement by Heaven 17. So Sheffield group. So what we've got here is, so just trying to think where to start with it. Yeah, so we've got Ian Craig Marsh and Martin Ware, who are in this group, who are in Heaven 17, but they had previously been founding members of the Human League, who are also a Sheffield-based band. So Ware and Marsh leave the Human League. I believe that's due to creative tensions, or there's something maybe going on there. In terms of musical differences, the usual musical journeys and reasons that these people do sometimes or often have. And then they splintered off to form Heaven 17. And at the same time as doing that, they also created this production company called the British Electric Foundation, which I think was a very similar move that John Lydon and Keith Levine had done when they went off to form PIL. They created Public Image Limited, so they were almost like creating this sort of corporation, or this sort of corporate entity, if you will, to then start releasing music, with I think the idea being that maybe they would branch off into other art forms as well. So it's an excellent album. It explores capitalism. There's a real sort of sense of impending danger to it. Talking about there's references to war and destruction, things like that. It does have as side one, track one. It has We Don't Need This Fascist Groove thing. It's actually thang on there. We don't need this fascist groove thing. I have to say thing though when I say it. And I do think that was actually temporarily banned, the song as well, that when it was, pretty sure when it was released, just because of the controversy around it. But it's an absolutely brilliant song, an absolute banger in my opinion. Very, very powerful messages to it, lyrically. And it sounds great as well. And then we've got, I have to mention, I've mentioned Marsh and Ware, but we've also got Glenn Gregory here on vocals. Very distinctive singer, great tone to his voice. So that is Glenn Gregory there. Great singer. Always reminds me of, it's completely unrelated, but he always reminds me to look at a little bit of, not so much of the Martin, but it's like a bit of a Gary Busey, Jake Busey sort of look to him, but there you go, totally random, but it pops into my head. Maybe it's just because he's blonde, but there you go. So, Glenn Gregory vocals, and we've got Ian Craig Marsh on the synths, saxophone and percussion, Martin Ware, synths, piano, percussion, backing vocals. And then we've also got Josie James, vocals on Penthouse and Pavement, Steve Travell on piano as well, and the boys of Buddha are on synthetic horns. So other tracks I like very much on it. Penthouse and Pavement is very, very good. And then we've got Soul Warfare as well. So the other thing to mention, sorry, just before it goes out of my head. So the Pavement side, I would say, is more sort of funky, sort of poppy songs on that one, I would say. Maybe slightly more straightforward, a little bit more, maybe a bit more commercial. And then I would say the Penthouse side is more electronic and, you know, slightly more experimental. Not to say that they're not, you know, that they don't have appeal, but in terms of, you know, melodicism. But I do think that the Penthouse side is more them sort of exploring sounds and things like that. So on Penthouse side there, which is side 2, even though the album is called Penthouse and Pavement, you know, if you were following that, it should be Pavement and Penthouse, but obviously Penthouse and Pavement sounds better. I do really enjoy Geisha Boys and Temple Girls. Again, that opens up side 2. The Height of the Fighting. I mean, these are all so good. Let's All Make a Bomb, Song with No Name, and then We're Going to Live for a Very Long Time. Excellent song, and that also has on the vinyl copy here. It's a locked groove, so when it gets to the end, you do need to, if you like me, you don't have one of these record players where it sort of gets to the end and, you know, takes itself off. You need to get up off your chair or wherever you are and take the groove off, because it is a locked groove. So I don't have many albums in my collection with locked grooves. I can think of a few off the top of my head, but Penthouse and Pavement is one of those albums. So just a little bit of extra information there. So that's Heaven 17, Penthouse and Pavement. And then coming right up, right behind it, although I do hold the albums in equal regard, but I did want to pair them together for the purpose of the video, so this was intentional. You know, there has been some crossover in other videos and today as well, for instance, where you get a little bit of a coincidence going on, but they weren't intentional. This one very much is. I am now going to show you the Human League with Dare, just because of the fact that there is a very direct connection there between the two bands. So this was a massive album, Dare, huge album of the 1980s. I'm just going to show you, because it's a gatefold, I'll just show you the whole lot. Okay, so there's Philip Oakey there on the front cover, singer there. So let's take it out as well. So let's help me out here with my captions and things. So we've got Joanne Catherall and Suzanne Sully on vocals. So we've got them here. And very famously, you know, Phil Oakey discovered these ladies. I think they were dancing in a nightclub, and, you know, he approached them and asked them to join this band that he was thinking of putting together, which, or rather, you know, this new incarnation, I should say, because, you know, Marsh and Ware had left the Human League. You know, they'd already been founded and they'd worked on their earlier stuff. So I should say, yeah, new incarnation, because Ware and Marsh actually, as part of their leaving, they did you know, they did agree to give Phil Oakey the or rather, you know, him and the band the rights to retain the name the Human League, and then they went off to choose Heaven 17, which is actually, again, out of interest, is a reference to A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. That's where they take the name from. So we've also got on here Joe Callis as well, who plays synth, brilliant songwriter, great musician. He, you know, also did work with the Rosillos as well, did stuff with them. Then we've got Philip Adrian Wright on here too, and Ian Burden on synth. So yeah, this is just such a fine album. Big hits on it. So, you know, let's just say it straight away. Don't You Want Me? Yeah, it's got to talk about Don't You Want Me. Yeah, another song, actually, now that I think about it, you know, I was talking about Tainted Love before, and Relax. I mean, you'd have to put Don't You Want Me in that sort of stratospheric, you know, elite sort of level of huge 80s songs that were everywhere at the time, and have continued to be everywhere ever since. You know, staples of the radio, you know, MTV, etc., you name it, it's just a song that goes and goes and goes because it's a classic. Brilliant piece of songwriting, you know, right from the very opening line. You're working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. It is just an instant, it's in your head, it's there, it's classic. I've always loved Love Action as well. Love the riff, the terrible voice is not so great today, but go and listen to it. Don't listen to my version of it, but I do. Just take my word for it. I do love the riff, and it is a brilliant riff in there. And I've always, just making sure there that I was going to check what was said there with that one. Yeah, I was going to make a point there on Open Your Heart. That was it. I'm going to mention there about Open Your Heart. That there is this, that I just love the lyrics of it, but I wanted to make sure that I was remembering it correctly. I was going to try rather foolishly to try and do it off the top of my head, which is never a good idea when you've got the lyrics printed in front of you, is it? So I'll read it from here. So Open Your Heart. I just love this. I've always loved this particular part of the song. So the lyrics, it goes, and so you stand here with the years ahead, potentially calling, with open heart or with the spirit dead, you walk on. I just always found that just a really great piece of lyrical writing. Words by Falco. Just always thought, you know, a really well written verse or, you know, chorus, piece of word, you know, a stanza, whatever, you know, words you want to use to describe it. From a lyrical perspective, it just works so well, just as a piece of writing in its own right with any musical accompaniment. I've always enjoyed that very much, and I also love the sound of the crowd. I mean, that's a great song as well. So I think again with Dare, it's an album that you could say very fairly that there's no duds on it. There's no weak tracks. You know, there's some that I prefer, you know, a little more than others, but I mean that's the same with any album, isn't it? But in terms of listenability and, you know, replayability, it's a great album, that one. So very happy to have Dare. So that's the Human League Heaven 17 examination completed. So yeah, two premiere acts there in the synth pop world, both from Sheffield. Over here in the UK, over in Yorkshire. So yeah, Yorkshire's a county that's produced some very fine artists and acts over the years. So huge credit to you know, both the Human League and Heaven 17 there for creating two brilliant albums in 1981, which I think as well were pretty much released. I think pretty much concurrently, to be honest. I think they were both really sort of going at it at the same time, and no doubt trying to outdo the other. I'm sure of that, you know, to some degree with the way that things kind of went there. But yeah, that's always the case with musicians. There's always going to be some competition. So there you have it. So quick sip of water, and then we'll carry on with what I've got left. Okay, very grateful to have my water cold today in my little bottle there that keeps my water cool. Just because it is pretty warm here again today, so that might be why my brain's getting a bit frazzled as well. But I'm going to soldier on and do my best, everybody. That's what I am committed to do here in the Vinyl Sanctuary. Okay, so we're moving back now to Psychobilly. So we had a bit of Tav Falco earlier, and now we're getting back to, you know, the kings and the queen of Psychobilly for me. Untouchable in the genre, love them to bits, and that is the Cramps with Psychedelic Jungle. Great album. So they had Songs the Lord Taught Us in 1980, and then they follow up with Psychedelic Jungle. So we've got here, so Brian Gregory is now gone, got Kid Congo Powers over here. He had been playing in the Gun Club with Jeffrey Lee Pierce, leaves the Gun Club to go and join the Cramps. The Cramps invite him to come and play with them. Jeffrey Lee Pierce gives his blessing, encourages Kid Congo Powers to go. You know, got to go and play with the Cramps, you got to go and do it. So there's Kid Congo. Lux Interior here. You can barely make him out there, but it is Lux there. Awesome rock and roll queen here, guitar extraordinaire, Poison Ivy, and then the king of the beat, Nick Knox here on the drums. So, yeah, what an album. Love it. Love it to bits. So, where do I start? Do you know, I could actually, I'm not going to read them all out because I do tend to do that sometimes. I'll read a few out. So, I love the version of the Green Door. I love that. Green Fuzz, Goo Goo Muck is on here now. I've not watched the Wednesday program or series or whatever it is, you know, the Addams Family thing, but I believe that Goo Goo Muck has been used in the program, and it's now had this like massive. The song has had this like massive resurgence, which I think is brilliant. You know, I'm always really happy when that happens for bands. I'm not, you know, I'm not one of these people who's like, hey, you know, where have you been? You know, you've never heard Goo Goo Muck before. You know, it's I just find all that a bit very, very snobby, quite elitist. I mean, if people disagree with that, then fair enough. But, you know, people were kicking off, for instance, you know, about all these young people discovering Kate Bush because of Running Up That Hill being in Stranger Things. But, you know, at the end of the day, people have to discover things somewhere. And, you know, if it means that the artist and, you know, the band are getting some coverage and exposure, and I think in the Cramps case, you know, something like Goo Goo Muck going huge, which is, I believe, has been the case with Wednesday, then who am I or anyone really to quibble about that? I mean, it's exposure for the band and it's a great song. And I mean, I've not seen how the song's been used, but I believe it's been done in a very, you know, in a very sort of artistically pleasing way. So no, all credit, you know, all credit to that. I don't have an issue with songs being used. I mean, obviously, I don't like it, you know, for instance, if bands or artists are using their music for, you know, advertisements or endorsements that are not in keeping with, you know, certain ethics, morals and principles, but that's a different kettle of fish altogether. I'm just talking about, you know, for instance, I know people that get a little bit sniffy when a song gets used in a program or a film, and then they don't seem to like it when new fans kind of almost are jumping on the bandwagon. But yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, people need to discover things somewhere, and if it's through a program or something, then that's great. So, you know, I've discovered songs and things through watching films and stuff. So, yeah, it is what it is. But again, if anybody wants to comment on that one with me, always open to a healthy debate. You know, a good, friendly, objective debate. If anyone sees it differently, you know, I'm not one of these people that's not open to. You know, I very much encourage other people's opinions and points of view. So, you know, please do get in touch with me if you do have an alternative opinion to that. So, okay. So, Goo Goo Muck, yeah, brilliant song. That's the most important point I should make. It is a brilliant song. Love it to bits with the da 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 da. Great guitar riff. Riff for the ages, that one. The Crusher as well is excellent, which has got like a wrestling theme to the lyrics of that one. Don't Eat Stuff Off the Sidewalk. I can't say that title without smiling because it's just a ridiculous title, but it's a good song. The Natives Are Restless is on here as well, and I do really, really enjoy Beautiful Gardens. So yeah, just conscious I wasn't holding the record up there. So there you go. I'll hold it up a bit longer so you can just get a look at that brilliant cover. Psychedelic Jungle there by the Cramps. There we have it. A great album from 1981. Right, so we're now heading over to very different from the Cramps, a very sort of quirky, power poppy, new wave, jittery, yeah, yeah, quirky. It's quirky but very, very enjoyable. There are definitely power pop references in there, very melodic. Took me a while actually for me to get into it, if I'm being honest, but now it's become a real favourite of mine for 1981, which is why it's in the list here. So that album stands for Decibels by the DBs, and for some reason, although it is different, but that cover has always made me think of Crazy Rhythms by the Feelies, and I think it's just because maybe the colour palette or something. I mean, it is different. It's not like a copy or anything, but it's got the four members on it. But yeah, there's something about the cover that I just think there's like a synergy there. And To be quite honest with you, I think probably for people who are maybe into the feelies that don't know the DBs, this could be a band, you know, that you really do get or you really are into, and vice versa as well. So we've got two principal songwriters here. So we have got, I'm going to make sure that I get them right here, left to right. So yeah, so Peter Halsapple is here. So he's one of the songwriters, and then Chris Stamey is over here. That's Chris Stamey. Then out of interest there, we've got Gene Holder, and then we've got Will Rigby there as well. So these are, I'm trying to remember where these are from actually. I think they might be from, are they from Georgia or Memphis or somewhere? I mean, I'd have to do, I mean, there is definitely crossover again. I mean, with Peter Halsapple, he ended up playing, you know, he ended up touring and playing with REM, obviously from Athens, Georgia. Chris Stamey's got links to Tennessee, Memphis with the whole sound with because he started the label that I'm the Cosmos, you know, the Chris Bell song. Chris Bell being a big star. He was responsible for getting that out there into the world as well at the time at one point. So yeah, there is definitely some real kind of premiere acts linked to this band, and the DBs in their own right are a superb group as well. So favourite tracks on here, I do love Black and White. Great start, that great start to the album. Espionage I like as well. I do love The Fight actually, which is just like lyrics, just basically documenting an argument between two people, but it's really quite compelling the way that it's done. You know, the music of it is great. And then on side two, I love Bad Reputation, really great song. Big Brown Eyes as well. So I think quite a few of these that I'm mentioning are songs that Peter Halsapple's written. I think he might be maybe the more slightly accessible songwriters of the two, and Stamey's a little bit more out there. So I think in terms of a comparison, maybe if you think, for instance, of a band like the Go-Betweens, who I've mentioned on the channel before, you've got Grant McLennan, who is more the melodic, accessible songwriter, and then you've got Robert Forster, that's a little bit more abstract, a bit more experimental. I would say that's a similar dynamic here. There was a song on here that I used to absolutely, I couldn't stand it, which was called Dynamite, which I'm pretty sure is a Stamey song, but now I love it. I really love it now. It's just one of those that it just grew on me over time, and now I do thoroughly enjoy it a lot. It's got a really sort of quirky, this like really sort of big chunky riff to it, which is just, it's like a bit sort of gonzo, a bit sort of out there. Just really like it. And Moving in Your Sleep is a beautiful closer to this album as well. And then there's another song on here called Cycles Per Second, which again, first time I heard it, wasn't too sure about it, but that has really grown on me over time as well. So I would say now this is an album that I do find a consistent and enjoyable listen from beginning to end. So that is the DBs, stands for Decibels. Very good album, that one, if you're not aware of it. Right, okay, so now I'm going to be showing you two albums, because I think although they were released separately, I do think that the intention was very much for them to be a double album. So we're going back to Glasgow again. So we were there early with Altered Images, going back to Glasgow again now. So one of my favourite bands from Scotland, loved their earlier stuff in particular. We've got Simple Minds, and first of all there we've got Suns and Fascination. So that's that one. And then we've got Sister Feelings Call as well. It's a little bit beaten up, that copy there that I've got of it, but it does play really well. But it's not in the greatest of condition, that one. So yeah, I'll talk about these two very quickly, because I'm conscious as well that I do tend to ramble, and I have still got some more records to get through. So yeah, I love Simple Minds. I've spoke about them before. This is them in their experimental phase, really, taking music from really interesting places. You know, there's still very much like a bit of a kind of a krautrock experimentation side going on at this point. You know, a bit of Roxy, bit of magazine, post-punk stuff. So one's on here. I do love Sweating Bullet. This is on side one, Boys from Brazil. Side 2, we've got Love Song, The Earth That You Walk Upon, Suns and Fascination. So again, strong all the way through, very, very good album. And then it's its accompanying album here, the one to go alongside it, which is Sister Feelings Call. Sister Feelings Call, yeah, get that right and say it properly. Theme for Great Cities is just stunning. Love that one. The American is superb. That's on side 1 as well. And then on side 2, I really, really do enjoy League of Nations, and Sound into Cities closes off the record as well, very, very nicely. So that's those two, Simple Minds, Sister Feelings Call, and Suns and Fascination. And I apologise to any Simple Minds fans if you don't feel I spent long enough talking about those. I do love them to bits, that's why they're here, but I'm conscious there that I waffled on probably for way too long about the Goo Goo Muck thing and the Wednesday show. So I'm just trying to get myself back on track a little bit so that the video's a little bit more palatable, a little bit more time friendly as well, because I massively appreciate all you guys being here and watching my videos, and I know they tend to be a bit lengthy, so I just want you to know that it means such a great deal that you're here and watching them, and I do hope that you enjoy the way in which I like to talk about my music. Okay, so next one. Oh yeah, I'm just double checking what it was there, because it's just pretty much an all black cover. So yeah, here was a band that, a trio, power trio, became the biggest band in the world, like literally the biggest band in the world. This is a brilliant, brilliant album. May even well be my favourite by the band as well. I think it kind of moves up and down every now and again, but yeah, I love this album to bits. So I will get on and show it you, and that is Ghost in the Machine by The Police. Look at that front cover there. Ultra memorable, and again another band that just defined the 80s in a really iconic way. They did conquer the world. Brilliant songs. Always loved The Police. Andy Summers, Stuart Copeland, Sting. Love them. This is one of my, as I said, one of my best favourites. So yeah, Demolition Man on here, mentioned earlier. Grace Jones, Before We Nightclubbing. But yeah, favourites. Gosh, side 1 is just so good. When I look back at just how good it is, so you've got Spirits in the Material World. Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, which is just one of my favourite pop songs ever. That piano line, just irresistibly great. Love it. Invisible Sun, beautiful, beautiful song. Hungry for You, and then Demolition Man to close at side 1. Then side 2, Too Much Information. Show you I can read these and show you Rehumanize Yourself. One World, Not Three, Omega Man, Secret Journey, and Darkness. So, yeah, if you're not really into The Police, or maybe you're new to The Police, or you're thinking about getting into them, I think that's a very, very good album to start with. I do. I mean, they're all great in their own way, but I do think Ghost in the Machine is an absolute classic. Excellent album, that, and definitely worth your time. Yeah, massive credit to the band to create something as brilliant as that. Okay, so where are we up to? We are edging towards that top 5. We are getting there now. So we'll have the ranked ones coming up very, very shortly. Yes, I've got 3 here to show, and then we get into the top 5. So I will try and motor on a little bit now. So we are now going to the UK. So we're staying in the UK, obviously. Police for a UK band. These were sort of twee, fuzzy indie pop. Some post-punk elements in there as well. Brilliant cover art to this one. Love the back design as well. So we'll get on and show you. This is a band that centres around the brilliant maverick songwriter Dan Tracy. And this record here is And Don't the Kids Just Love It by the Television Personalities. So we've got Twiggy and the actor there, Patrick McNee, there in his role as Steve. Very, very iconic cover, that. Love that cover. And yeah, in terms of, you know, the whole sort of ethos, the aesthetic of the album, it does sort of harken back to, you know, a bygone era, even though this was, you know, made in 1981. I hear quite a lot of the jam on here actually as well, like a bit of a jam influence coming through. But yeah, these are just sort of like very gentle, sort of psychedelic tinged pop songs. So let's go through them quickly in terms of ones that I love. So it starts off with This Angry Silence, which is quite jam sounding, bit of a sort of a kitchen sink theme in the lyrics and lyricism, but that does continue throughout. I mean, there is a track on here called "Look Back in Anger," which is, you know, which takes its name from the John Osborne but, you know, the literature, the book, you know, that he put together there. So that's in there as well. Picture of Dorian Gray, so we're getting another literary reference there to, you know, with Oscar Wilde. We've got a song on here called "Le Grand Illusion," which is lovely. We get some quite sort of whimsical songs as well, like Jeffrey Ingram, which is almost like a little bit sort of Kinksish, I suppose. The World of Pauline Lewis is lovely as well. I mean, these are all really good, the Glittering Prizes, but two of my absolute favourites is "A Love Silly Girl." I just love the line in that when Dan Tracy's singing about, you know, taking the train to Crewe. What a silly thing to do. But my absolute favourite, it's just a heartbreaker. I've lost count of how many times I've heard it, is "Diary of a Young Man," which has just got this beautiful, beautiful guitar line all the way through it. Pretty sparse instrumentation on that one. It is pretty much just this very, very yearning, twanging guitar, just like drenched in sort of, you know, it just sounds like reverb and echo laden. And you've got Dan Tracy just giving this, just it's just heartbreaking, to be honest, the way that he renders it. He doesn't even sing it. He's it's like he's just reciting you know, an entry from his journal, from his diary, you know, just talking about how he's feeling. So I really would urge you to please to go away and listen to that song if you're not familiar with it, or if you are, you know, maybe just want to reacquaint yourself with it. It is a really, really beautiful song, that one, in a very heartbreaking way. So I've got nothing but the most immense respect for Dan Tracy, you know, for his talent. But to have put a diary for, you know, for a young man out into the world is just wonderful, in my opinion. And if you're wondering what Syd Barrett's doing there is a song on here called "I Know Where Syd Barrett Lives," which is very, very twee. It's got some lovely little sound effects on there, you know, birds tweeting and things. It's very gentle and like kind of acoustic guitar driven. So that's a really lovely song as well. So going talking about having sausages and beans with Syd Barrett. So that's that one. Okay, and now we are getting to the last album before we get into the top five. So here we have another band from the UK, very much in the kind of the gothic sort of dark wave, I suppose, new wave, post-punk arena. Just like rattled off a few genres at once there, haven't I? But that's pretty much a good way to put the sound together. Although I do think that moving on from their debut, which was the year before, they maybe went here into a slightly more sort of slightly poppier, maybe funkier avenue. Arguably, be interested to hear that. Now, I didn't have the debut album for 1980 in my collection. I wish I did, but it isn't there. But I do have this one for 1981, and that album is Mask by Bauhaus. And this cover art here, I believe, is by guitarist Daniel Ash. So let me see if I can get it in there for you. There's the cover art there for it. And because it's a gatefold, as I always do, I will show you the inside of the gatefold as well. So there's Mask by Bauhaus. And yeah, this is a really, really enjoyable album. It's a strange one because I'm more familiar with In the Flatfield, even though I don't own it on vinyl, but I've listened to that a lot. Mask, obviously, I've listened to it enough. I mean, I own it, and I certainly enjoyed it enough and enjoy it enough to have had, when I had the opportunity to buy it, I did buy it. Got it for a really good price as well. I actually bought it from a local dealer. Somebody here living close by to me was having a bit of a clear out, but does deal in vinyl generally. And he let it go to me for what I thought was a really fair price. It's an original pressing as well. So, yeah, Really, really good album, this one. Not listened to it in a while, but seems to be the case of Bauhaus. I need to really go back to them because I listened to them a lot when I was younger. But I love Kick in the Eye straight off the bat. Love that one. Hair of the Dog. The Passion of Lovers is one that I like a lot as well, although I do like all these, and The Man with X-Ray Eyes as well are my favourites. So yeah, I'd be interested actually. I do think there are quite a few Bauhaus fans that are subscribed to me. Let me know if you prefer Mask or In the Flat Field. Just let me know if you happen to have a preference, or whether you put them, sort of on equal footing. So me being honest, I think I do prefer In the Flat Field, but I have always enjoyed this album. So I think for me, it might be a matter of time before I get, it is inevitable at some point when I can get In the Flat Field, I will, for the collection. But I'm certainly very, very pleased to have Mask as well. And then maybe I can just continue to build my Bauhaus collection from there. And I have got that, I have got a best of as well, which I've shown in a previous video. So anyone who's interested in catching that video, please do have a look on my channel, and you can see me showing that best of Bauhaus as well. Okay, so where are we? Yes, we've got one more now, and then we're into the top 5. So we're back to Liverpool again here. One of my favourite ever bands. Spoke about these guys a few times on the channel now. Another piece of beautiful artwork for their front and back cover, and that is Heaven Up Here by Echo and the Bunnymen. So I think the cover art here really captures the sheer beauty and majesty and brilliance of this album. It's a real mood piece, this one. As much as I adore Crocodiles, which I do, I absolutely love Crocodiles, which came out the year before, I feel like there's a really strong progression in the Bunnymen sound. There are some really powerful songs on here, and they continue to obviously gain momentum, got a little bit more mainstream, etc. as he went along, but continued to write great music. So Show of Strength, brilliant opener. Side 1 is Show of Strength with a hip. Over the Wall is utterly superb. Over the Wall is one of my favourite ever Bunnymen songs. And then we get A Promise on here as well, which is excellent, truly excellent. A Promise, another very, very popular Bunnymen song, one that I always enjoy listening to whenever I've watched them live. Then we get to side 2, we get the title track, Heaven Up Here. Then we get the absolutely superb The Disease, which is a very short, it's just basically McCulloch and a guitar, that one. It's just strumming along, very, very sort of gothic and quite doomy, that one. My Life's a Disease. Great lyrics on that one as always with McCulloch. All My Colours mixes the sound up a little bit, I would say. That's slightly a little bit more experimental, that one. And then we get towards the end as well, No Dark Things, Turquoise Days, and All I Want. So another very strong album there by the Bunnymen. I just feel at this point they were just laying down really, really solid, brilliant work. Crocodiles was a very accomplished debut, and as I just said, I really do think that this builds upon that album in a really, really strong and admirable way. Definitely no sophomore slump or anything here with that. That is an excellent album, that, and really unlucky to not make it into the top 5. But these 5 here are, for me, definitely the best albums of 1981. Okay, so coming in at number 5, this is an original release on this label. I might be mistaken. I think it might be the only album that came out on this label. So I might be putting my neck out a bit there. There might be a pinned posting coming if I've not got that right, but I do think it might be. So we're over to Edinburgh now. Brilliant post-punk group, arguably one of the best, if not the best. And we've got here on Postcard Records, The Only Fun in Town by Joseph K. And I'm really, really pleased to have this because it is an original pressing. There's the, so bad at doing that with the pointing. There's the logo there, the postcard. with the cat drumming away there. Postcard, okay. Probably would have helped if they'd taken it out the sleeve, wouldn't it? So it's not the easiest to see anyway. So that's much better there. The only fun in town. So I'm just going to check. I did make a note or two here to make sure that I'm not giving any duff information about some research that I did here for this. So see if I can find it. Yeah. So what I was going to say here is about the cover art. So this is the Edinburgh skyline here, as we can see, and what we've got here is a dome, and that dome there is, here we go, it's West Register House, and it's got some crows circling around it. So I just wanted to point that out there, that dome, and that is, I believe it's in Charlotte Square. Yes, Charlotte Square. So I did a little bit of research there because it's not long since I've been to Edinburgh. Just wanted to make sure that I got my facts correct. And I believe that this here is Princes Street as well. So that is, and it's there on the front and the back cover. So it's really, really nice, isn't it? So the album itself was recorded in Brussels, in Belgium. I think it took just over a week to record. The band had done a previous version of the album, were not happy with it because they thought it was a bit too lush sounding and it didn't really capture their sort of raw brilliance, and instead they went to Brussels and cut this, which was the version that came out, the version that I hold here in my hands. And yes, this definitely does not sound lush. It's very, very brittle, very, very jangly in places. Some brilliant, almost like very funky bass lines, great percussion, just sounds superb. Joseph K, the band name, so Joseph K was the protagonist in the Trail, which is a novel by Franz Kafka. And there is a very Kafka-esque sort of, as you would imagine, concept going on with the album in terms of lyrical themes and, you know, different reference points and things like that. So I will just show you the inner sleeve on this one, just because, you know, there's no track listings or anything on the actual cover. And it is in the top 5, so, you know, I tend to spend a little bit longer on the top 5. So, yeah, brilliant Edinburgh music. Paul Haig, lead singer, great voice. At times, his voice reminds me quite a bit of Iggy Pop. So I love the opener, Fun and Frenzy. Very, very frenetic. Well, Frenzy, it does sound frenzied. Great sort of elastic bass line sound on it as well by Davey Weddle. Really, really good bass playing all the way through it. Sorry for Laughing is a classic Joseph K song. Citizens is on here as well. So yeah, trying to think what else. These very, very small writing on these ones here, very faded, and I don't like to get my tracks, my titles wrong, even though I know them in my mind. I do doubt myself. I like to make sure that things are all present and correct where I can, especially when I'm doing it on camera the way I do. Yeah, It's Kind of Funny is on here as well. That's an excellent song. And Revelation too, yeah. But these are all really, really good songs on here. Very, very enjoyable. So I am very happy to have that in the collection. But if I had to choose a favourite off it, I would probably have to say Sorry for Laughing, just because it sounds so good. Some really good guitar playing on that by Malcolm Ross, although his guitar playing all the way through is superb. A very, very, very enjoyable album. Now, a lot of people would say that is probably one of the greatest albums, if not the greatest album to come out of Edinburgh. But spoiler alert ahead, I have got another album that was made in Edinburgh in this top 5 that isn't Joseph K, and it's higher up than this one, so that might cause a little bit of controversy as well. So there we go. But yeah, brilliant album. I mean, it's got into my top 5 for a reason, because it's superb. Very short record as well. I think it's about 29 minutes, half an hour, something like that. So short, quite dark in places in terms of, you know, the energy of it and stuff, but yeah, thoroughly brilliant. If you're into your post-punk and you don't know Joseph K, or you haven't checked that album out, then please do so. You won't be disappointed. Right, number 4, So we're leaving Scotland now, we're going back to England. This is a band that I have talked about on a previous video. Superb record. Yeah, I've put it at number 4, but it could have been higher. I'll take it out of the sleeve. I adore this cover art. It's in the Walker Art Gallery over in Liverpool, so I've been to visit it quite a number of times because Liverpool is not all that far away from where I am. And that album is From the Lion's Mouth by The Sound. And that's Daniel in the Lion's Den there. Beautiful, beautiful painting. I'm going to actually just put that back again and leave it on camera there for a bit because it is an absolutely stunning painting. That it's not that big in real life. I mean, it's big enough, but it's not a huge painting for anybody who's maybe not seen it in real life. But as I said, I've been over to it a good many times, over to the Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool, and that art gallery also houses just as an aside, not anything to do with the sound, but that gallery does have my favourite painting ever in there, which is One of the Family, and that was painted by Frederick George Cotman. So that's just a little bit of extra information about me as a person away from the world of music. It is a stunning painting, that one of the Family, and I always go over when I can to look at that painting along with the sound cover art here, and yeah, just a little extra bit of information. And that is a huge painting, One of the Family, out of interest. So yeah, let's get back to the music, shall we? So Adrian Borland's outfit here, The Sound. So I will show you the gatefold. See if I can do this properly, so I'm not playing peekaboo again. Here we go. And Adrian Borland is there with the blonde hair down in the corner with the tie on. That's Adrian Borland there. Phenomenal talent, spoken about him before. And yeah, excellent post-punk. So if you're into the Bunnymen and you're maybe not sure about the sound, or you're sort of thinking about how to get started with them, then I do think From the Lion's Mouth is a brilliant starting point. Great songwriting, great flow to the record, sounds brilliant. It's been produced by Hugh Jones. This is a repress, by the way, on the 1972 label. This is not an original. I do have Jeopardy, an original, but the debut, but not this one. So favourite songs. Winning is a superb opener. Sets the scene really, really well for what's to follow. Lovely guitar work in that one. Sense of Purpose as well. These are just my favourites on side 1. And Skeletons is a rocker. And then on side 2, Fatal Flaw, I think is like a bit of an epic, really, just in the way that it's put together, in the way it builds, just the sort of the whole vibe of it. And then I also love Possession, and then it finishes off with New Dark Age. So if you're looking for a new post-punk fix and you're not sure about the sound, or maybe that you're just looking for something to maybe go back and revisit, then please do give From the Lion's Mouth a spin or a listen whenever you can. I don't think you'll be disappointed with that. Okay, so how are we doing for time? So yeah, I've just got a few left. Yeah, it might be another epic, this video, eh? So yeah, thank you for being here as always. Really appreciate it. Right, okay, so I did mention that I had another band from Edinburgh to show you. So we're now here with that band. And if you were to look at them, you might think that they were, I don't know, maybe playing the sort of music that Adam and the Ants did, which was, wonderful experimental pop music. Or you might even look at them and think that they were New Romantics and maybe doing, the sort of stuff that, the chart-topping stuff that Duran Duran were doing, but not the case at all. These are a very fiery, brilliant post-punk group, I think kind of in the vein of the likes of Siouxsie and the Banshees. Magazine, there's some really brilliant kind of influences coming into the play here. This for me is a criminally underrated album. I don't see it being spoken about very often online, so I certainly want to be here today just to give it a nod, give it its moment, just because I I love it to bits, and that album is Author by Scars. So this is another Edinburgh post-punk band. So in 1981, you had Scars bringing this record out, and you had Joseph K bringing out The Only Fun in Town, and that's what I was referring to. So now you can see the picture. If you look at the way that they're dressed there, you know, you might think, even Spandau Ballet actually as well, you know, you might be sort of thinking that they maybe sound a little bit like that. The answer is no. And I do love all those bands I've mentioned in various ways. You know, they've all released very worthy material, but Scars sound nothing other than Scars, and they are truly, truly brilliant. And I do think of all of the bands that I have shown today, although I've, you know, tried to champion and make encouragements and recommendations and suggestions for all of them, I think if there's one overall, just because I do think they are so criminally overlooked, so please do go away and check out, you know, for me, you know, let me know if you do. Please make it Scars. I think Scars and Joseph K actually, you know, if you're not aware of them as well, they need to be given a go as well. But please do check out Scars. This is an excellent album. The lads here were very, very young when they recorded the album. So we've got Robert King, Steve McLaughlin, John Mackey, or I think some people, I don't, yeah, I think it is Mackey. I think sometimes, you know, I think the other spelling is Mackay, but I'm going for Mackey here. And then Paul Research, and yeah, my Scottish family will be freaking out if I've mispronounced that, because yeah, I won't live that one down. But I'm pretty sure if it's Mackie, it's Mackey, isn't it? And then it's Mackay if it's Mackay. So we'll go with that. Apologies in advance if that has been mispronounced. So yeah, where do we start with this then? So as I've mentioned already, you know, a fiery kind of very, very post-punk sound, brilliant soundscapes. It sounds fantastic as well. Brilliant bass work at times. Some of the bass playing is quite similar to the sort of stuff that Les Patterson was doing in Echo and the Bunnymen. Robert King is a very hypnotic frontman, brilliant voice. I love the fact as well that he sings in his Scottish accent. You know, he does retain the dialect and things as well. And then there's some really lovely guitar playing from Paul Research, which is very much in that kind of John McGeoch sort of Siouxsie sort of style of playing as well. So yeah, let's go through some of these tracks then. So Leave Me in Autumn, I should say, is a great opener. That sets, again, the scene very well for what's to follow. Fear of the Dark, very, very paranoid. Love the lyrics of that one. Very, very driving, pulsing, sort of throbbing, breathless quality to it, which when you hear the lyrics is the perfect accompaniment with the music in. That does sound really, really fearful, that one. You really hear it as well in Robert King's delivery. David has always been one of my favourites as well on this album, which I think has got quite a Bunnymen sort of bass line to it. Quite rocked up, that one. Superb. And then Everywhere I Go. I can't say enough about that one. That is an excellent song. Great lyrics on that one. Then we also get The Lady in the Car with Glasses and a Gun, which is a really compelling story. That almost reads like something like, you know, one of these like sort of hard-boiled detective novel type things, you know, like it's almost like a bit of a bit of a voiceover sort of thing going on with that one. Your Attention Please is very, very interesting in the way that that's been rendered. I won't say too much about that one because it's quite unique and it's quite clever the way that it's been done. We got Je t'aime c'est l'amour on here, and then the final track, which I think is them Scars at their sort of poppiest best, which proved that they could, along with all the brilliant post-punk experimentation stuff they're doing here, they can just write a great straight-up pop tune as well, is All About You. Really great song to finish the album off. And I love the fact as well that they've put arguably their most commercial sounding track at the end of the album, and it works really, really well. So, Scars, Author. I love the artwork. Yeah, an album that I will always continue to come back to, and one that I can't speak highly enough of. Yeah, so that's number 3 for 1981. But these are very, very fine margins. Right, so number 2, I've just been speaking about Siouxsie. So I'm a huge Siouxsie and the Banshees fan. This is an incredible album from 1981, and it is Juju, Siouxsie and the Banshees. So I've just been talking there about John McGeoch as well, guitarist who played for Siouxsie, he played for Magazine, played for Public Image Limited. I think he showed up and did some guitar playing for Visage as well at one point. So wonderful, wonderful player. But yeah, Juju is my number 2 for 1981, and wow, the way that this album starts is just incredible. So we get Into the Light, well, we get Spellbound, sorry, first. Spellbound, what a song that is. That seems to have had a resurgence as well in later years. I think that's probably been used on a few films or TV programs and things, I think, Spellbound. But yeah, the guitar playing on that, and then the way the sort of the frenetic strumming, then it breaks into this kind of jangly little riff, superb. And Siouxsie's voice on it is just absolutely tremendous. She sounds, yeah, just, yeah, so powerful on it. Brilliant work. Then we get Into the Light. Then we get Arabian Nights, which has just got this beautiful slinky instrumentation to it. You know, I Heard a Rumor. It's got this really, in the lyrics, it's got this really sort of again, like a slightly noirish kind of dangerous sort of a feel to it, like a vibe to it, but very alluring as well when you're listening to it. Arabian Nights, it really does succeed in creating a very distinctive mood, and you do sort of get swept up in the piece when you're listening. But that's kind of what could be said for the whole album, which is why I think it's so good. I personally do think this is Siouxsie and the Banshees' best album, Juju. Although I love Kaleidoscope and a lot of other ones as well. You know, The Scream and Tinderbox is very good. You know, that they've had some excellent albums, Peep Show, but this is my favourite. And then later on, we get Halloween. Night Shift is excellent. Sin in My Heart, and then we've got Voodoo Dolly as well. So all the way through, very strong album. This one, all of the band are on fine form. So there we go. I wanted to take this out because I do love these portraits here of the group. So got John McGeoch there, Guitar Wizard, love him to bits. I've always loved that picture of Siouxsie. I just think it's such a brilliant photograph of her there. Really striking. You know, wonderful visual appeal, Siouxsie, but, you know, just incredible talent. But yeah, always found that picture to be excellent. And then we got Steve Severin there, who's doing some great work on the bass. And then his, partner there in the rhythm section. These two play so well together. We've got Budgie there on drums, percussion, doing great stuff there as well. So yeah, just wanted to show you the portrait shots there because, yeah, great photographs of the 4 members. So let's just get this in here. Here we go. So that is Juju by Siouxsie and the Banshees, and that is my number 2 for 1981. Right, so we've got to the end then. So we're up to my final one. And I've already referenced this band a little earlier when I was talking about the Cramps. And I was talking about Kid Congo Powers leaving a band to go and play with the Cramps. So the band that he left, and this is my number 1 for 1981. I'm definitely going to play this as well later on, just because I've got it out of the collection and I'm looking at it here. Love this album so much. Definitely my favourite album from 1981, although the competition here has been very fierce indeed. We've got Fire of Love by the Gun Club. Yeah, can't speak highly enough of this album. I'm not going to put it above in terms of telling people to go away and listen to it as much as Scars and Joseph K, because I do think the Gun Club have had a lot more exposure, I would say, in terms of, you know, word of mouth and critical acclaim and people saying, you know, I think it probably appears in, you know, these sorts of things like 1001 albums, you know, you must hear before you die, that type of thing. Don't think the same could be said about Scars, just because I just think it really does go under the radar. But this is truly a brilliant album, and it does live up to all of its plaudits and all of its acclaim. So this is actually a different front cover. I do think there is another cover available of this album. I think it's got like a pink background, and I think it's got like sort of cutouts of various faces or heads on it. But again, similar to my Soft Boys album that I've got, This is really the only cover that I'm kind of familiar with. So this is like my reference point, really. So, and there's the back. I think this personally is a really good cover. So I'm happy that I've got this pressing of it, which I think is on it's on the New Rose label, this one. So I picked this up many years ago. I'd already heard the album a lot, through streaming and things. I got it in in the Netherlands, actually. I had to pay quite a bit of money for it. It was on a flea market, and I remember quite vividly that, which was, fair enough. The chap wasn't open to, bartering or anything like that. It was like, that's how much it is. So I was like, yeah, fair enough. More than happy to go ahead and buy that. So, because I did want it in the collection. I remember being really, really over the moon when I saw it, when I was going through what the gentleman had. So anyway, to the record itself. So how would I describe it if you're not familiar with the Gun Club? So they're a very unique sounding band. Jeffrey Lee Pierce is a bit of a one-of-a-kind vocalist. Sometimes sings in tune, sometimes chooses not to, but always very, very beguiling to listen to. Extraordinary lyrics, very, very, very strong in the lyrical department. Just got a really great style about him. We've got him playing slide guitar here as well, Jeffrey Lee Pierce, but he is the songwriter and vocalist. We've got Ward Dotson on guitar, slide guitar, Rob Ritter on the bass guitar, and then Terry Graham on the drums. So yeah, let's have a look at these tracks, and they're all superb. But favourites here, it opens up with Sex Beat, which is probably, I think I would say, yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb, probably the Gun Club's most famous track. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Probably one of the more accessible songs on the album, but a superb way to open things up. Then we get Preaching the Blues, Promise Me, She's Like Heroin to Me, which is a really, really, really good song. Great slide guitar playing in that one. Just over 2.5 minutes, so it's quite short, that one, but it's got a real sort of bounce to it. And then we get For the Love of Ivy, and that song was written with Poison Ivy, the guitarist from the Cramps, in mind. So that is Ivy that's being referenced there. So when I was mentioning earlier about Kid Congo having Jeffrey Lee Pierce's blessing to join the Cramps, that is because, Jeffrey himself was a huge Cramps fan. Side 2 opens up with Ghost on the Highway, which is brilliant. And there is actually an excellent Jeffrey Lee Pierce Gun Club documentary of the same name that I would advise people to go and watch to get more information on the band. Jack on Fire is excellent as well. Yeah, these are all superb, actually. Side 2, Black Train, and then we get Cool Drink of Water, and then Goodbye Johnny to finish. So I've just remembered as well that when I was talking about the Pixies earlier in relation to Altered Images, and I said that there was another band that I feel the Pixies took inspiration from, who were also featured in this list, Altered Images being the first one at the very, very beginning. I also think the Gun Club as well. So for anyone who maybe doesn't know much about the Gun Club, there are definitely passages of music on this album where you will be thinking, that sounds a lot like the Pixies. So I do think, again, Pixies were taking some inspiration, some cues maybe from the Gun Club, just in terms of, use of dynamics and shifts in tone and tempo and, the whole tension release thing that you get in songs, just to sort of build up anticipation, then bring things down again. The Gun Club are really excellent at doing that. So yeah, if I was going to sort of narrow it down to 3 favourites, because I pretty much just read the 3, all of them out there. Sex Beat's definitely my favourite on the album. Then I would go for She's Like Heroin to Me is excellent, and we'll go for today Ghost on the Highway as well. But you can't go wrong with the whole album. Very strong all the way through. Dust Bowl, bluesy, cowpunk, post-punk, garage rock. There's a bit of country stylings in there. I mean, this really is a bit of a platter of musical morsels, shall we say, that you can go and have a little. They've had a bit of a nibble on a few different things, I would say, and then they've put it all together and concocted this really fantastic sound. Very, very American sound. I definitely could not ever envisage a UK group coming up with anything that sounds like this, and it is just an extraordinary record. I love it to bits. That is Fire of Love by the Gun Club. And that brings my 1981 video to a close. So again, thank you so much everybody for being here, for listening to me, for sharing my passion for music, taking refuge in records. As you can see, it's my favourite thing to do. I'm thoroughly enjoying working through the 1980s, so obviously my next video now will be 1983. I've already got 80, 81 and 82 covered, so the next one will be 1983. If you're new around here and you enjoyed what I've done today, then please do consider subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate it if you did. And if you do choose to take that step and join me in taking refuge in records, then please do click the notification bell, and that will keep you up to date with all of my future content that I've got landing. If you also did like what I did today and you would maybe like to leave a thumbs up on the video, that would mean a lot too. The channel is still continuing to grow. I started it a few months ago, and all the support that I can get in terms of people coming on board and sharing their passion with me for music is hugely appreciated. So I do thank you all very much for considering doing that. So yeah, I'll be keeping busy with the rest of the 1980s. Please do as well have a look at some of my other videos that I've done for the channel, see if anything takes your interest, and if there's anything at all today that I've commented on, that I've said, or anything that I've mentioned that you would like to add anything to, or anything that I may need some clarification on, or just any thoughts that pop into your head from watching the vid, then please do comment, because I do love to interact with people in the comments. It's one of my favourite things to do since I've started the channel, so I very much look forward to finding out what you've all got to say. So until then, thank you very much, and bye for now.